Now, you guys may not have heard about this, but Ford donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration and a bunch of trucks, a fleet of vehicles to use during the inauguration, which ended up being held indoors. But now, there's an article detailing how Ford will be hit the hardest by Trump's tariffs due to how much aluminum and steel they use. And it's kind of funny. I want to break down a series of stories in that vein, so make sure you drop a like, drop some blue hearts, and let's check this one out. CEOs are now saying they're losing faith in Trump. Quote, "I don't trust that what's said today will be true tomorrow." And we've broken down multiple stories in this vein as well. Businesses thrive off of predictability. An economy grows when there's a predictable environment. You know how many resources you need, how many resources to import, to allocate towards this. You can pay this employee that. But when Trump introduces this new factor of complete and utter unpredictability, maybe there will be tariffs. Oh, maybe there won't. Oh, maybe aluminum will be exempt. Never mind. Actually, aluminum will be tariffed more. He's done all of this verbatim. He flip-flops and then is completely contradictory the next day. So yeah, CEOs are right to be a little bit wary. What about this? Quote, "Tariffs break trust. How Trump's trade policy is putting pressure on U.S. farmers. American farmers could ultimately feel even more pain as a result of President Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China." And if you guys watched my video yesterday about Ben Shapiro, if you haven't, I'll link it in the description. Watch it after this. But even Ben Shapiro was sitting there on his show, scratching his head, saying, China makes sense. We've tariffed China in the past, but Canada? Why the hell are we tariffing Canada? There's no reason whatsoever. Let's read this. Caleb Ragland, a soybean farmer in Magnolia, Kentucky, voted for Trump 3 times. He's a 3-timer, a 3-time Trump voter. Now, however, he has to navigate a tariff minefield at a time when the sector is already facing major headwinds. Ragland works with his wife and 3 sons and has deep roots in the community. His family has been farming on the land for more than 2 centuries, but in recent years, he has seen a double-digit percentage decline in crop prices while production costs rise, with soybean futures having gone down more than 40% over the past 3 years. They even link to soybean futures over the past few years. You can see there is a steady decline over the past 1 year. Over the past 5 years, there is a steady decline. So pressures are mounting in this industry as a result of tariffs imposed by the second Trump admin, and then the retaliatory levies from other countries are the real cherry on top that will cripple these farmers. People who voted for Trump. Remember, a lot of farmers, not all farmers, a lot of farmers voted for Trump multiple times. Quote, "My sons potentially could be the 10th generation if they're able to farm." If they're able to farm, says Ragland, who is the president of the American Soybean Association, but he's not sure. There's a lot of uncertainty due to the unpredictability that Trump introduces to the market. And this is not the first time farmers have had to deal with new tariffs. Back in Trump's first term, there was a trade war with China, but it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different when Trump or even Biden puts 10% tariffs on China, which is understandable. China's not our ally. You want to punish them economically, that's fine. Even if it hurts people, that's fine. But when you start to tariff Canada and Mexico up the ass, even Colombia for a day there, which would have been detrimental for a few sectors, including coffee, which I drink every single day. I'm sure a lot of you do as well. It's just unpredictable, and it's hard for businesses to thrive. And can I remind you, during Trump's first term, they did a study, 92% of Trump's China tariff proceeds went back into bailing out angry farmers. So the proceeds that were taken from consumers ended up going back into farmers who were just getting absolutely schlonged by the tariffs that Trump put into place in the first place. Now let's move on to the main titular story about Ford. Let's go back to December 23rd of 2024, about a month before Trump's inauguration, when Ford decided to donate $1 million and a fleet of vehicles to Donald Trump. The Ford Motor Company donated $1 million, and the company spokesperson was just glazing Trump. Policies on tariffs on electric vehicles that are being considered by the incoming admin would likely affect Ford, who is already struggling to ramp up production and sell their battery-powered models. So So the Ford CEO tries to curry some favor with the incoming president. And I read this really interesting article about tariffs, and it's a point that isn't often made. Not only are tariffs bad economic policy, I could talk all day about how terrible they are as economic policy. Not only do they not give Trump as much leverage as he thinks, but also it is the exact type of economic policy that breeds corruption, actually. Corruption and tariffs go hand in hand, because when a president is unilaterally imposing tariffs on other countries or companies, then certain leaders can come and either ask for favors or give favors to Trump, and then they're exempt from the tariffs. Or the owners of companies can give Trump millions of dollars and then they're exempt. You can imagine a reality where the Ford CEO, I can literally picture it. The Ford CEO invests $15 million into Trump's shitcoin, and then all of a sudden, Ford is exempt from the Trump tariffs. That exact same thing happened with a crypto millionaire who was being investigated by the SEC. He put $75 million into Trump's coin, and the SEC dropped the investigation. So when you use tariffs as an economic weapon, it creates an environment ripe for corruption. Let me know if you guys follow that thought process in the comment section below, how tariffs are just perfect for a corrupt president. But listen to this. One of the biggest victims of Trump's metal tariffs, the Ford F-150. And actually overnight, Canada announced they are introducing $30 billion of tariffs on aluminum products into the US. New costly steel and aluminum tariffs threaten to boost car prices and dent automaker profits. America's most popular pickup truck might not be able to outrun President Trump's new tariffs on steel and aluminum. It's not only Trump's tariffs, but it's the retaliatory tariffs that will really strike Ford hard, and we saw retaliatory tariffs overnight. The Ford F-150, the top-selling vehicle in the US and the automaker's main profit engine, is one of the industry's biggest users of aluminum. The Trump administration reinstated early Wednesday a blanket 25% tariff on steel imports and boosted the levy on aluminum made outside the US, but these tariffs are entirely incoherent because we don't have the ability to produce this steel or aluminum at home. It's one thing if your policy is to say, in 6 months, I will be imposing tariffs. Companies, you have 6 months to reshore manufacturing, to build plants, to hire workers at home, and to build the infrastructure needed. The clock is ticking. You have 6 months, maybe 10 months if I'm feeling nice. That actually gives companies a grace period, is what they call it. But when you're doing this, when you enact tariffs 1 month into being elected, you're basically just giving a middle finger to both the companies like Ford and to our allies. It's entirely incoherent, as I said. The tariffs are the latest Trump administration trade barrier that threatens to inflate already high car prices at a time when it's impossible to fill that gap in the market, at least purely domestically. Together, the metals account for more than half the materials that go into cars, and costs from the tariffs will likely get passed along to car buyers, analysts say. If left in place, they could, on average, inflate the cost to automakers of building a car by about $400 per vehicle, according to research from Barclays. The aluminum tax in particular presents a problem for automakers. They are using more of the lightweight metal in cars, but the U.S. produces less of it by the year. Again, the U.S. does not have the infrastructure in place to produce the aluminum needed. It's just bad policy. Most of the high-quality aluminum used in vehicles' outer bodies starts out as imported aluminum, and there are a dwindling number of domestic alternatives. Ford's brawny F-150 and Super Duty pickup trucks, the company's biggest profit generators, are among the most aluminum-intensive vehicles on the market. The company, a decade ago, converted the trucks to a mostly aluminum exterior, including the hood, doors, and truck bed, all aluminum. So now they're cooked, as we would say, as Gen Zers would say. They are cooked. Let's pull up the Ford stock. Just today, let me zoom in here. Just today, Ford Motor Co. seems to be down a little bit. I guess over the past month, it's up a little bit. I don't want to say it's down. It's over the past 6 months, it's down 10%. Over the past year, it's down. So far, Ford hasn't taken quite the hit, but I'm not going to say it's up over the past 24 to 48 hours. This is the effect of Trumponomics, everybody. This is the effect of Trumponomics. You know, when he was entering office, I was saying something to the effect of, there's a reality where he kind of sits back, plays golf, and coasts off of Biden's economic accomplishments. I was naive. I was naive enough to think that maybe Trump would sit back and just take credit for Biden's booming economy. Maybe it's not entirely naive. That is something that Trump would do. Many people did think that Biden's economy would take us very far, but Trump has already somehow ruined it. And I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.